Yeah.
Probably a good learning experience year. I'm not sure it was much fun in many other regards for you,
Right.
but it was what it was. Where would you put your assessment of the team after a summer to see them kind of doing what they're doing, and you guys have started workouts now, and I know you're very early in that, but you probably got some ideas from what you've seen.
Well, our returners came back and wanted to change everything, which was great. And the group that was here, so we had 10 on the floor that came back in January, basically, and I don't want to say swept it on the rug. Okay, it happened. There were things that were in our control, out of our control. Let's take care of the things that are in our control, and let's just fix it and come back and change things. And we had a great spring, awesome spring. And then everybody gets here for summer too. Of course, we can't work with them because we don't have that rule. But what I saw at camp, the snippets that I saw at camp, everybody looked in great shape. The freshmen looked great. And then day one, we compete, and everything is ahead of whatever fake schedule that we have. But everything looks great. And the best thing is the mentalities. And as a staff, we really take that December especially, whether it's a good season or a bad season, and I do this personally too, but what do I need to change? What do I need to fix? What do I need to do differently? And one of the biggest things that I decided that I definitely needed to do is we overcoached our kids last year. It's just constant feedback, and we just got to let them figure it out. We have to coach them, but we got to the point where I felt like it was almost all the time, and we overcoached our kids, and it just overwhelmed them. And so this preseason so far, we're on day 3. We're still coaching, but hey, just do it again, do it again, do it again, figure it out. But we're having a great preseason. So today's defensive day was really good. We struggled a little bit with some technique stuff, but the effort is there, which is all we ask for. This afternoon we'll compete more. So we do technical training in the morning over at varsity, and we do competition in the afternoon in homes. Yesterday afternoon's competition was great, fantastic. Hitters are taking big swings, and if we can pass the ball to target, the tempo that we're trying to run is pretty tough to defend. So I like it. What we're seeing right now is great.
The mental state of the team is important.
Yeah.
Last year you dealt more than you would probably ever have with the physical state.
Ridiculous amount. I mean, more than I've ever dealt with in my life.
So how are you health-wise? Because I know some of them were probably things you knew would clear up with some rest and some short-term rehab.
Right.
Some of them were, but some of them were not minor
major
things.
No, major.
So where does that stand?
No, we're good. We're only on day 3, so we're just dealing with some soreness right now, but we don't have anything major going on like last year. When you have 3 concussions and 2 major ones, scary ones, to our 2 best passers with Loff and Katie, that was a scary collision, one of the worst I've ever seen in my life. And I played high school lacrosse. And when those 2 are out, Loff for the season, Katie for a good chunk of the season, but kudos to her coming back because she knew we needed her. And then we had Kennedy Wilson get a 3rd one, and our 3 best passers. And so we're struggling in serve receive right off the bat. And that was right at the beginning of conference play. We got down to scabies. And when I'm having to deal with that, that's when it's just that kind of a year. So we bounced back in the spring. We're healthy in the spring. Everybody who had anything nagging took care of it, got stronger. Core strength was a big thing for us this year. Getting off the varsity gym floor is a big push for us right now. That floor, we had it tested. It's not great. And so anytime we go over there, we just do technical stuff. We're not jumping a lot. And then we save our jumps for over here in the home center just because that's what we have to do between the facilities. But we're paying more attention to jump counts and how hard we're going, and because we don't want to have a year like we did last year. Kudos to the kids. They bounced right back. Loff is in great shape. And again, scary concussion that she had. But she's in great shape. She's going to have a good year, I think. She's come into preseason wanting to be our starting libero, clearly, and get that position back. And but thankfully right now we're healthy, and as long as we're healthy, we're going to be pretty good.
The other thing you were last year was very young.
Very young, yeah.
Now you're only slightly less
Only
young.
slightly, yes, but still with 5 freshmen.
Yeah. But even through a tough season,
right,
your young players
Got
gain
experience.
some valuable
Right.
experience. So they're much older
Right.
young players than they
Yeah,
were
I mean,
last
you look at somebody like an Amanda Krall, who's playing not the hardest position on the court as setter, because middle blocker is the hardest position, but the most demanding position. And she was a freshman, and was in and out of the starting lineup, whether she was running a 5-1 or we were going a 6-2 with Ashlyn, or. But she got some great experience on the court. Yes, not winning experience, but experience on the court. You have somebody like an Emma Longley, who, if you looked at her stat line, had a pretty good freshman year. The 20 kills 5 times, 2 times over 30 kills, and as a freshman outside hitter, that's amazing. When she got the 30 kills in her first collegiate match against Virginia Tech, and she was in my office saying, Matt, I just feel like I set an unrealistic bar. I was sitting across the desk telling her, you can't think about that. You can't think about beating 30 kills, Emma. It's not going to happen. Maybe later on, but you can't. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, she goes for 37 kills against Ball State, because Emma likes to prove me wrong as much as she can, because she's that kind of player. But we had a bunch of Melissa McMath, who's not a freshman, but a young player, getting some quality playing time. So it was good. And then I think we're actually going to have a couple of freshmen this year that are going to get some playing time. So we're still going to be pretty young. Right now we have 3 true seniors. Depending whether or not Olivia Loeffler sticks around for 2 more years, because she did get last year back, which was good. We appealed to the NCAA, so she does have 2 more years of eligibility. So academically a senior, but technically a redshirt junior. But we're still, predominantly freshmen, sophomores this year. I don't mind it, because we don't base anything on class or anything like that. We want the best players on the court, and it's good for us that we have a sophomore class that got some quality playing time in.
I know, you and I have done this enough times now that the preseason poll,
Right.
as you taught me, well, that's nothing more than a reflection of what we were last year. Right. How can anybody know differently?
Right.
Now, last year, you guys were way up.
Sure.
And there were a lot of expectations,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
things happened. As a result, you were right.
Right.
They look at where you guys finished, and
sure.
you guys are further down the path
Right.
this year. Does that have any influence on maybe, that does take a little bit of weight off of a young team, that I don't have to worry about playing
Right.
psychologist with them?
Right. Actually, with this group, they don't want to be 5th, clearly. So for them, it's motivation. Okay. And if you looked at the point standings, we were actually closer to 4th than we were 5th or 6th. So I think that's some coaches in the league that know, hey, they just had a ridiculous amount of injuries last year. Also, the other part besides youth and injuries, we graduated the best class I've ever coached in my life the year before. Lightning in a bottle with those 4. Career assist leader, 2nd in career kills, 9th in career kills, 2nd in career digs, all in one class. I've never had that at any school that I've been at. And I think we've got some coaches in the league that said, hey, they're not going to have another year like that. And I hope we're not. I have no idea. You know this. I don't make predictions, right? But the way we're playing right now, we are better than we were last year. And the thing about last year is if you just looked at the record, if you just looked at 4-25, it doesn't reflect how competitive we were. We played in 13 5-set matches, the most in the NCAA. In 9 of those 13, we were up 2-0 or 2-1. Now, that's where the youth factor comes in. We just couldn't win. We just didn't push to win it. And part of it, I talk about this with our team, and I firmly believe this. A team's success or failure is 50% on the coaching staff and 50% on the players. And if both halves can take full responsibility of their 50%, then you're going to be pretty good. So we were young. Lack of leadership, lack of culture, especially compared to the year before. Player level culture. And then, as coaches, we hate losing, so we get frustrated and we act frustrated and we don't coach the kids the way we need to do. So last year was just a good example of just how that 50% it breaks down on either side. You're not going to be successful. But when you look at 4-25, we were significantly more competitive than that 4. We just didn't win. So if we're going to take a silver lining out of it, it's okay. We were much more competitive, but now we got to win those. Because even if we just take those 9 that we were up 2-0 or 2-1, and we win those, we have a 500 record. And when you've got at times 5 freshmen on the court with a sophomore, that 500 record's probably pretty good.
Okay. What take us through the schedule? You know, what are you excited about? What are the opportunities in there? What are the challenges?
Yeah, I mean, right now, honestly, we're really focused solely on ourselves. And when we were doing our schedule, kind of just wanted to get a good mix of teams that were going to be competitive. And I think we have that. When you start off, initially, we were playing in the Wilmington tournament, and it's going to be a Saturday-Sunday tournament because Davidson's going to be there, and I believe they have a mandatory orientation on that Friday. So it's a Saturday-Sunday tournament, which is great. Open it up. We get a full week of practice. Well, then Missouri State contacts me because they're playing at NC State's tournament over the weekend, and I guess it didn't get filled. And so they didn't want to fly all the way out to Raleigh and only play 2 matches. Could they pick up another match? Do you have a date? And I said, well, actually, we have this Friday open if you want. If you want to play at noon, because then we'll just hop in a bus and drive to Wilmington after we play. And that's a quality, I mean, Missouri State's a quality program. And then we go to Wilmington. It's a good tournament. Cassidy Stevenson's awfully excited because it's her hometown, her senior year. In-state, so we can get a bunch of our in-state players, fans and everything there. And then the second weekend, we host. We've got UVA coming down here with ETSU, and now I'm completely blanking on the last one. Towson. Good, 2 good mid-major programs with Virginia coming down in the ACC. It'd be great to pick up a win against them, especially since 2 years ago we had a swing to win it in the 4th and just missed it by 6 inches. And I think that was our 18-16 game in the 5th. Third weekend, taking a big trip, heading out to North Dakota, just for the heck of it. My buddy's the head coach at North Dakota. He's given us a pretty good guarantee that allows us to make that trip the same price as a bus trip anywhere else, and a place where a lot of our kids have never been. So and North Dakota won their league last year, and they made it to the NCAA tournament. We get to fly out there and play 4 matches against good teams. On Thursday, it's the world's largest French fry. So when we get out there, we're going to practice and then go to this French fry festival on campus at UND. So my buddy told me about that. The kids are pretty fired up about that. And I went out there to visit him because I'd never been in North Dakota. And Grand Forks is a really cool town. And it's pretty cool to say, hey, I knocked that state off my list, right? And then the last weekend, we go to College of Charleston. And play in a good tournament down there. Haven't been to Charleston in a while because not in the SoCon anymore, so it'll be good to go against them. And then we've got Sunbelt play. We only have 7 home, 9 away in the Sunbelt this year. It's because of our divisional play, so we have less matches at home. I'm fine with that. And then we also changed our conference tournament where we protect our top teams now. So seeds 1 and 2 get a bye all the way to the semis. Seeds 3 and 4 get a bye into the quarters. So 5, 6, 7, and 8 play that first day, and I like that, and I was one of the ones that proposed it because it protects our top teams, and we kind of help guarantee our best team is going on to the NCAA tournament, which is what we want as a conference.
And where is the conference tournament?
Arkansas State this year.
All right. So, in as much as you can and are willing to, what would what are your expectations? I realize they will change as the season progresses, as you see what's happening.
I think you need to ask me that the third weekend of the year when I get to see Coastal. Coastal graduated a bunch, but Coastal's still going to be really good. Leah Hardiman's a heck of an outside hitter, and she's going to be tough to stop. Now, they did graduate their 6'5" middle, which is going to help us, but if they filled that spot. But not having Legros in there is going to be big. And then Arkansas State also is good. David has a quality team, and he graduated as setter and as libero and a couple of other players. But I know, as a coach, I know what it's like to graduate a Mallory Warrington, because Paige Brown. They were 2 of the best setters in the league the last couple of years, and I know what it's like to lose that. It's not easy to replace a player like that, or a Marky Shadig, his libero, because Marky Shadig was quality libero and left back and kept them in a lot of rallies. So I say that there are only 2 players, but they're 2 big players for Arkansas State. But he's done a really good job there. I think once I start watching film and kind of get a feeling, because right now, just like the preseason poll, everything's just kind of based on what you have returning. And nobody is seeing what's happening in everybody's gym. The way we're playing right now and the big push that we're making. So after day 1, we had a really good first day. We looked at our kids and said, if that could be our worst day right there, And tomorrow we come in and just be a little bit better. And then every day we look back at a practice session and you go, you know what? I want that one to be our worst practice session. And we have that all the way up until classes start. We're going to have a great preseason. And so far it's been happening. You know, we had a little bit of a letdown today just in our defensive stuff, but that was because it was a lot of technical training and slower and everything like that. But when we ask our kids to compete, they're going after it. And they're really investing in that, you know what, I want this to be our worst day. And then tomorrow we're going to come back and be better. And like I said, if you ask me in 3 or 4 weeks, then I'll have a better handle about what we're going to do.
Good deal. All right, man.
Awesome. Thanks,
That's
Dave.
perfect.